Just a quick show of hands in the room today. Who's a developer of virtual reality? So probably about a quarter of the people here. Who has a virtual reality arcade or who is interested in opening a virtual reality arcade? One. Who's just turned up because they've got nothing better to do? Kevin. So we've got a mixture of developers and people interested in the business behind virtual reality, and really to follow on from Kevin's presentation about the out-of-home experience market, or the themed attractions market, the family entertainment market. I'm going to run through some of the business aspects that our clients use in working out whether it's a feasible business to get into. These are things that as developers you need to understand when you're developing your game. As people that are interested in opening VR locations, it's something you need to understand to make sure in 6 months' time your location is still open. So a little bit of information about the Immotion Group. We're a pretty new company. We incorporated in September 2017. However, the company's made up of several strategic acquisitions, one of them being Studio Liddell, which is a Manchester-based content production studio. Long history of producing CGI animation for TV, interactive content for theme parks, for museums, for family entertainment centres, and C2K, which is an LA-based production company specialising in digital media, cross-platform digital media, AR, VR, MRI. That was a joke. So we've got about 40 years of experience in storytelling, and again, with content, it's all about a story. Whether it's a short game, whether it's a long game, content is key and the story is key to that. So we've won a few awards over the years, a couple of Emmys, IAPA, which is the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, a couple of awards over the years for Best New Products. December, we opened VR Star in Bristol. So what we're doing is we're mixing our content with machines. While we're making the content, we need to test out the machines and the hardware. So we opened up VR Star as a way of testing the machines, test the hardware. What hardware do the customers want? What do they enjoy? What's available? What can we put our content on in the future? We've developed strategic partnerships with Resorts World Birmingham. They're owned by Gentin Gaming, which, again, as Kevin mentioned earlier, the gaming aspect of VR is starting to get interest from traditional gaming companies. Genting being one, the Rank Group, who own Grosvenor Casinos, Mecca Bingos, and Merlin Entertainments. As we all know, it's a huge company specialising in out-of-home entertainment, small midway attractions, Sea Life Centres, Lego Discovery Centres, Fort Park, Chessington World of Adventures, about 150 different locations globally. And in July, it sees the launch of our content management system and what we're calling Generation 2 content. So content that has been produced based on the feedback from the testing at VR Star and our other locations that is more in tune with the family entertainment centre market and more in tune with the Western market. So this is VR Star. So VR Star was really a put your money where your mouth is situation. If you're looking to sell attractions into the themed entertainment industry, you need to provide return of investment reports, you need to provide gameplay reports, customer feedback, the actual guests' feedback. So again, why not open up your own arcade, stick the machines that you're planning on selling into the market in there to get all that feedback. So VR arcades, aka VR experience centres, aka VR LBECs, aka VR FECs. Kevin, you probably know another 5 or 6 different terms for them. They're arcades at the end of the day. The assumptions, most operate using a HTC Vive setup within a 3 metre by 3 metre station, your standard Vive setup. Most license content via Steam, most charge for time. So you buy an allotted amount of time, 15 minutes, half an hour, an hour. The limitations of this particular model and why this model isn't common in the out-of-home attractions industry, because you've got the limitations of the maximum revenue that you can generate is dictated by the number of stations within the location. And if you've got a station which takes up 3 metres by 3 metres, that's precious, you know, that footprint. You want to maximise the amount of money you can make per your footprint. And most content is created for the consumer VR market. So most content that you license from Steam has been designed for consumers. It's not designed for VR arcades or VR experience centres or whatever we want to call them. So we have a different model here, which is the charge. Here's the maths behind the charge for time. I've got my 6 stations. My price per hour is £40 an hour. I'm open 8 hours a day. That means my maximum capacity is 48 cycles a day, which means at that price, my maximum daily revenue is £1,920. That's if I've got 100% occupancy, I'll take home £1,920. There's rent out of that and all that other costs associated with the business, but that's your maximum. Let's compare this to what they're running at the Legoland Discovery Centre in Boston. So this is a paid experience that we've installed that's extra to the ticket price. Fantastic content by a company called Figment Productions. They actually use this content on their physical VR roller coaster at several of the Legolands. And the idea here is to give the kids that have gone to the smaller Lego centres a taste of what's possible at the bigger Legolands.
I don't even have the words, but it was awesome.
I think it was really fun and amazing.
My favorite part was when we flew into the lava cave.
I liked jumping and going down through the lava and down through a hole. It was really fun.
I loved it. I thought it was great. It was interactive. I like how the chairs move. I like in the VR when you're on the ride, you can actually look around and see everything around in the environment.
He was telling me look around, and I think the first time I just was pretty forward, and then the second time I think I felt everything even more.
Once you experience the ride, I think you'll understand why you paid the additional cost, and it's definitely worth the value. I would definitely do it again.
So just like the Dave & Buster's Jurassic World experience, we use a different set of measurements or a different set of maths to work out what the maximum revenue you can generate from this type of attraction is. So this is the pay-to-play model. It's actually the same as the Dave & Buster's Jurassic World experience in terms of pricing. They're $5 a play, I believe. This location has 4 machines, which is 8 seats, so they can physically have 8 people playing at any given time. It's £5 a play. Each play lasts for 5 minutes. It's open 8 hours a day. The maximum there is 768 cycles a day, which means your maximum daily revenue in dollars is $3,840, considerably higher than the pay-for-time model. This is why what we're seeing at the moment with existing operators in the out-of-home industry, they're not going for a standard Vive setup because it takes up too much space and the pricing model is alien to them. So they're introducing attractions like this, attractions like the Dave & Buster's Lost World, Jurassic Park, because they know this model works. This model, as Kevin said, has been going for years. Arcades have existed for years and years, family entertainment centres have existed for years and years. So that does pose some questions to developers on, if I'm designing a game, what aspects or what things do I have to take into consideration when designing that game? quick play games that are intuitive from the moment you pick up controllers. If you've got a limited amount of time that person is in the machine or in the area, you want them to grab the controllers, get on with the game, finish their game, get off so the next person can come in. It's about throughput. It's about pushing people through an experience. It's not about shortchanging them. It's about giving them the best possible experience within that 5-minute period, which means not having to learn how to play the game. A good example of this is actually Fruit Ninja VR. Everyone knows Fruit Ninja. You pick up the controllers, you've got 2 swords. The only problem with Fruit Ninja VR is it hasn't been designed specifically for the VR arcade industry. Games that have a start, middle and finish all within an allotted time. If an operator knows that your game finishes within 5 minutes, they can work the maths backwards from that to work out how much money they can make from that game running at full capacity. Multiplayer functions. There's a big social aspect that's of great interest to this industry. And not just multiplayer within the same facility, but multiplayer across different locations, tournaments, esports. And a leaderboard, it seems really, really simple, but after I play Pac-Man, I can put my name in, only 3 letters mind you, but I can put my name in and I'm there. And all my friends can see I've played Pac-Man and they try and beat me. Not many games have leaderboards designed for the VR arcade industry or for the out-of-home industry. It seems quite an easy one to think of, but a lot of games don't have that. It is a must. It is a must. So here's some of the content that we're working on at Immotion Studios up in Manchester. The first wave is to be rolled out at the end of this month. And it's a mixture of different content for the different machines that we provide. I won't bore you with all of the trailers for the games, but something to bear in mind as a developer is where am I going to recoup my development costs from? What channels have I got? What avenues have I got to recoup my development costs? At the moment, with the industry, you've got obviously Steam Arcade coming up with some commercial licenses. You've got then the option of speaking to the locations themselves and saying, do you want to license my game? Normally in that model, you would charge a royalty fee for the game in perpetuity. You'd charge a yearly licensing fee or a monthly licensing fee. What's of interest is, like us, there's several other companies that are adopting a pay-to-play model where the revenue to the developer then comes from the amount of time or the amount of games that somebody has played your game. So Springboard is another example of that, where you get paid per minute of play. As you've seen with the financials, if your game is amongst the limited database of games available in a location, you've got more chances of your game being played. If it's a pay-to-play model, the location's going to make more money, which means you as a developer make more money. But there's not many outlets that allow you to do that at the moment. It's very much a royalty based on a monthly fee or on a yearly fee. But as the industry grows, the more content distribution channels that open up, the more flexible payment options there will be for the developers. But what is key is making sure that your game sticks out of a list of 200 games, even more. You know, there's a huge amount of content available on Steam. If you use Springboard in your arcade, there's a huge amount of content on Springboard. Make sure you're developing functions in your game that you know traditional arcades have in their games. It's exactly the same. Nothing has changed. All the little touches for traditional arcade games like Pac-Man, Asteroids, they're still required in the VR arcade industry. And yeah, without going into the whole trailer database, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Oh, questions at the end. That's me finished. Thank you.